Hi everyone, Alex is here. Let's discover why devs are switching to Svelte. So, first of all, Svelte was developed by Rich Harris at November 2016. It was released, and basically, why it was created? It was created by one thing, that this developer didn't like how this React, Vue, and Angular frameworks are working. Basically, how do they do? You have your dev project that you're creating. Then you want to publish that. How it will work? It will create a bundle of JavaScript files. So it's just combination of all of your JavaScript, React, Vue, TypeScript, Angular, doesn't matter, it depends on your project, into one JavaScript file, something like that. And then it imports from the core libraries, Vue, React, Angular, whatever. And we have two problems here. First, it's quite big bundle files because all of them using wrappers to some other functions that are importing other functions, and in general it's not easy, just a lot of the repeated code and a lot of the methods that are reusing and a lot of the methods are taken that are not important right now. All of that are the problem. And the next thing, time to interaction, also is a problem. Because of that, it's all been loading, especially when we're taking, for example, some external files like React, for example. So such things can really work worse for us because it just takes time to be loaded, and after all JavaScript will be loaded, our page will be interactive. That's the problem, that's what it stands for. And not to work in such a way was created Svelte. Idea of the Svelte is it's not like more framework, it's more like compilator. An idea here that it compiles to the bundle file JavaScript, but not just smaller. No, it not include external Svelte libraries. Plus, if you're using typical frameworks, they don't know what will be changed. It just discovers during the working. So like, for example, React, it creates the virtual DOM, it compares with the real DOM, discovers, for example, that input was changed, at the sum diff, it takes that to the real DOM and discovers where it is input to change it. Svelte doesn't do this manipulation to compare. It instantly knows where it will be changed because it was predefined in the compiler. So it always will be the same. There won't be something unexpected because Svelte precompiled it while compiling. That's an idea. And because of such logic, Svelte became the fourth most popular framework for front-end development. And it becomes quite bigger and bigger every time. So that's a main idea when you're trying to create a bundle file that will not have any external links for Svelte development. Of course, you can make some libraries that in any case will be able to, should be able to get online, but Svelte won't do that. And that's the main idea. And what it helps us, we'll tell a little bit later. Right now, after we realized how does it work, we should understand what is also special at Svelte. Let's talk how Svelte is working. So basically, it's really the same as Vue. The file is been working and creating in the same way, so it's just extension is not Vue but Svelte, and you're using the same script style, but you should not use any wrapper for HTML, for example, template, as we're using that and in Vue. That's a quite small thing that I really is like a single file component, but it has its downsides. So when we're working with a huge project, The problem is that you are trying to put all the logic, especially for a specific component, at one place. Sometimes you're trying to divide it into the different files. It works sometimes, but it's not so ideal as it can be, for example, at Angular. Angular do that better when we have a great big system, especially with their dividing of the files. I think in any case, Svelte and Vue are doing great with this single file component idea because we can manipulate it easier. So in general, if you don't want to use this one method, you can create always a folder and just replicate Angular idea, the folder of the component with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I think it will work for you. But mostly such frameworks, they're not designed for such thing. They're designing more like single file components. And one more time, I'm still on that it's for small, medium projects for sure. Big projects also can do work here, but you must twice think about that. You should understood all of the logic how does single file components work, because on the Angular and React it will be quite easier when you're trying to scale it up, because in Svelte it's easier not to scale, it's easier to just add more functionality to that place, and that's quite a different thing than just scaling your application. Yeah, so that's an idea. So that's one of the most important things I hope that you should know. But also we should understand what we have new in Svelte 5, that we also have something similar at Vue and React, and let's discover what's that. Okay, first we have better integration of working with runems. And in general, let's talk about state, derived, and effect. Basically, it's the same thing that you have, I think, already seen. State, it stands for when we're working with specific variable and want to make it reactive. Before that, all the variables have been instantly reactive. You can discover that with Vue. When you have been working with Vue 2, all the variables have been, nearly all of them have been predefined, reacted. But right now we can easier manage that as reactive or not with just $state. So basically you're creating the variable as you're doing that. For example, const let count equals $state, and inside of the round brackets you're just writing the value that you wanted to see. Then when it will be changed, it will automatically takes the changes, so it basically works as in Vue and React and in general at Angular in some point of. So that's like the typical thing right now. The next is derived. It's the same as computed, for example, at Vue. So an idea here is that when you have a couple of or one reacted like $state value, and you wanted to know what will be if we'll divide it. For example, we're creating calculator and we have two states and wanted to divide them. By writing them, we can use derived, and it will automatically, every time when these values changes, it will run this method to return you the new value. So it's computed at Vue. You can discover that it works the same way in the same idea. And also we have effect. It's the same thing mostly as React is doing. So you remember we have use effect. An idea here is like side effect for some changes. For example, let's talk about our effect, how it will work. We have, for example, let it be news. When we are adding news, we have some couple of the changes. So we are refreshing our backend, we're making notification for our end user, and opening new tab with this link. So use effect, what it will do, every time something is changing, it will run these things. So this is way it will be working with just backend. So for example, you're changing something in input and your search engine is just researching that, or changing something in filters. This can be used as a side effect some kind of, because every time you're changing that, it will rerun or making updates for backend. Also, it's quite interesting when you have a form that you wanted to save every time someone is inputting something, so that can also work. So you're just making this effect for all of that, and that will stably works. And the same we have here, so the other effect will be using as same way as in React we're doing that. But that's not all. So one of the most interesting thing is shallow routine. How does it work? When we have any image or let be model, like any dialog window, we wanted to have a link to specifically such element. Before that, we should reload it. It was quite not so easy, but right now it's much easier to work in such ways. So when we're clicking on that, for example, any model, we'll instantly can have a link. We can just copy that, send it to someone, and that person will be able to go to the link and be in the same model or image. And before that, there was like some problems. Right now, we don't have them, and it makes navigation really more comfortable and easier to using. And that's even not all. We also have improvements of API. So before that, we had through error, through redirect. Right now, we can just use error and redirect methods. So they will work the same way. In any case, it's just better. And also the same small improvements are working with cookies, because before that it wasn't necessarily mandatory to use path value, but right now it's mandatory, and it just helps us not to have some critical errors and especially some security leaks here, because sometimes such cookies could just be hidden somewhere or just not appear for specific domain. So in any case, it was a problem, and right now we don't have that. And basic improvements. As usual, basic improvements, better working, faster, let's go. This thing. It's like quite simple and regular thing that we have. That's about Svelte 5. And the last thing that we should talk why developers are going to Svelte is about SvelteKit. And after that, I'll tell you what is overall the reason, but I hope that you'll understand it first. It's the same thing as Next.js or Next.js, analogs for React and Vue frameworks under frameworks. That's the thing. How does it work? And it basically works in all of these ways. It uses the same routing system, like folders creates routings for you. You can work with your, let it check me, like basically with your, for example, rendering. Server-side rendering, for example, if you don't know, server-side rendering stands for when we wanted to load our file, like our website, what we should do. We're going every time to the server, and server just send us back any HTML file that works with that. But here's the difference, that before sending this file, we're just rendering that. And when we're rendering this file, we're sending that back rendered. So when we're not doing that, as most of basic frameworks are doing, we just have empty HTML. Why? Because JavaScript then adds everything. That's the problem of time of interaction. But when we're preloading that on the server, we have CO, we have metadata, we have the structure of our application. And when we're finding something on the web, the problem is that search engines robots, they're checking all the websites to define their index, and higher index, you'll be on the higher rate, you'll be upper. And that's the crucial thing here, that when you don't have anything, no metadata, no text, your website instantly will be lower, unless it's very popular by users. That probably is not with everyone. So such thing just helps dramatically improve your webpage. Also, it shows that your webpage is quite more new than some old web pages that have been using such frameworks technologies but didn't update their applications. So that's one of the main ideas here. So your CEO will be upper. Also, we have a static site generation, so it's SSG, and this stands for generating not interactable files. For example, you have an old blog. There are any of interactions with JavaScript. You're just defining simple HTML CSS file. Or most even right now in use, they don't have a lot of the animations or something like that. Or even if they have, they can have them with CSS. So if your web application cannot use JavaScript, it will be amazing because you will be able to use SSG. It's not all the websites can use because JavaScript is quite important. But if you can just use CSS and HTML, definitely use this SSG because it will dramatically faster generate your files, firstly. Secondly, it will be better for SEO and it will be just in the moment. And that's important because if you're creating use, it's just an idea of is a text, is simple text, nothing to interaction thing, and a lot of such websites are looking by the phone, especially when someone is on the way, and that internet cannot always be the same good. So that's the thing that SSG is working. Yeah, so that's the thing. And also hybrid, as I remember we've been talking about hybrid before, I won't talk about it one more time, but if you would like to discover more render options, just hit a comment about that and I'll probably make it. We'll see. So basically, all the SvelteKit is the same. Like we have all the same routing system. Most of how does it work, we even have server to work with our API. At least some calls that can work us. So it's just simple, not just server, nothing too hard. And it can really help you to create full stack applications from the very scratch. So if you can try to go with fully web application based on SvelteKit or Next, do that. Not using another server because it can be harder. Serverless websites using Next or SvelteKit can work sometimes better for you. If you didn't check that before, check that. So it's all about even this SSR, SSG, hybrid, it's all of that. It by the help of the server. Internal Node.js server. That's how it works. Yeah, that's mostly the theme. And let's talk, I think, we have done that. Yeah, also, I forgot to tell you that Svelte also have a lot of the instruments like Svelte storage, Svelte, like that. Okay, let me end with that. It's quite similar to all of our applications before. So why devs are switching? Maybe you understood it from the very beginning, maybe in the middle, maybe in the end. Maybe not, but Svelte is being used for that compilation. So it's not an ultimate tool. Remember, right now we don't have any ultimate tool that will work with everything. It will be the best and etc. Not. It will we just have the tools that are working good for this specific moment. And Svelte is, as you can understand, is good at as fast working and with bundle creation. So if you're creating, for example, PVA application that will be really working with your mobile apps, it's better to use Svelte because it will be better working with bundling and it will be faster, it will be easier. Sometimes it should not use some external libraries to be downloaded at your computer or phone. That's the thing. Also, if we're talking about the simple Svelte, not SvelteKit, it's small, medium projects, of course, are preferred mostly. Some e-commerce, some websites, portfolios, or even use blogs, I think they also can go with just simple Svelte. Maybe, for example, of the some of the things, it's just creating components for existing projects. It's also the thing that you can check. For example, you can create micro frontends and to work with some specific components based on the Svelte, especially it's very good compiling to this simple bundle JavaScript, so it won't probably conflict with all of your, for example, Vue or React code. That also can work. But with SvelteKit, we can do much more. We can just create even a big application, SaaS application, electronic commerce, application even with APIs, cabinets, mostly all the things. But it depends on one thing, of time of interaction and the community that we have, because Svelte doesn't have a huge community like it has. It's quite big, especially with comparing with other frameworks that are not so popular. But React, Angular, Vue have much bigger, and that's the crucial thing here. So if you're creating something that can be sometimes harder to reuse, maybe it's better to go with framework that we have right now because there can be more problem solved. But from the another case, we have AI that can help us doing that. That's also the thing. So it depends, honestly speaking. Mostly, I think it depends on prefers, maybe what you just like. But the crucial thing is how does it compilating. If the crucial is time of interaction, so some graphics, some working where you cannot let person to wait you, I think Svelte will be better. But also look at your team, look at you, what do you know? Maybe sometimes it's faster to go with React rather than discovering the new framework. That's the question that only you can know. And probably no AI will replace this. Who knows? In any case, I was happy to see you here and wishing you all the best. Hope that you will find your tool for your projects. All the best for you. Bye.